what I guess the message is here in camp, given the expectation? This is different from what this organization has been years in the past. Like going into a season with the expectations that you have and what you accomplished last season. What is the message?
Yeah, no, I mean in terms of we've really starting with 2020. I think we've come into camp expecting to have a team that's capable of playing deep into October with the ultimate goal of winning the World Series. I think like Peter says, if the baseball gods smile on you that year. So no, I think again we had we had a playoff team last year, a playoff team. 21, we were in good stead for most of the year. So no, I think the expectations coming in are to play deep and win the organization's first championship.
Does this feel like the best team that you have put on the field?
Yeah, I mean, we feel like it's we have a team that's got a lot of different answers. So I don't necessarily go into like ranking like the teams over the last couple of years or anything like that. I think we feel like last year's team clearly we get into the LCS and we feel like we've improved in the off season. So but each year is different. Every year's a different story, and I think from our standpoint, really just the biggest key is just focusing on. Honestly, things that we can control every single day, getting ready for the season. We've got the Classic this year and in spring training, but just kind of building off of last year's LCS appearance.
People want to talk about sustainability of this roster and how far it could go. Is there sustainability to it, or is it, hey, we're going to build the best roster we can and deal with the rest later?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think again, like obviously, like starting in 20, we've been a team here the last few years that has been very competitive, and we've got a good blend of veteran players. We've got a lot of our key players under contract. You always have free agents at different points in time, but we feel like our scouts and our player development do a great job of giving us resources and having more players coming through the pipeline. That's been like a real, probably like untold story here the last few years. It's just the ability to make trades, make deals, and still have top prospects and players that other teams want, or from our standpoint, like players that are going to come up and play in San Diego. So yeah, I think if you're good at what you do, from a scouting development standpoint, that always helps you in the long term, and I have a lot of faith in our group on that front.
You talk about this team has a lot of answers. Is organizational depth in the pitching one of those? You seem to have some more options to go to if things befall your starting rotation.
Yeah, honestly, I think we've liked the depth over the last few years. It's always a goal, like it's a long season, so I think and a lot can happen. So I think from our standpoint, we're starting this year in a spot where we feel like we've got a lot of pitchers that that we feel like can win us major league games and put us in a good position. But you got to have that every single year. So I feel like from our standpoint this year, we always try to address that, and I think we've got a good blend of some younger guys that have some things to prove, that have kind of worked their way through the system, and some veteran players that are coming in here to compete, and some other veterans on the roster that are going to feel like are going to pitch well throughout the year for us.
With so many pieces, where people land, especially in the infield, is that going to be an evolving thing this spring, is it maybe not a concern? You're happy to have everybody here, but what's the difficulty, if there is a difficulty, in trying to slot everybody?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, like we like the fact that we've got some athletes that have that played up the middle. I think again, like kind of figuring out and kind of letting guys settle into positions. I think that's definitely like something we'll look at in spring training, that we're trying to make sure that when we leave here, we've got some continuity there and some guys that feel comfortable where they're at. But from Crony's standpoint, Jake's played first and second base before and shortstop. Kim's played all over the diamond in different situations. He's played third base in Korea and shortstop and second base for us as well. And obviously Xander and Manny, you've got two perennial all-stars on the left side. So and Tatis just being a great athlete that can do a lot of different things. So yeah, that's something for sure in spring training. Kind of getting comfortable and having guys kind of settle in, playing together and playing those spots, but. Kind of like the dynamic of having some athletes that can play all over the field and have played in those spots in the past.
Are you concerned about, is there any pushback, like, hey, I don't want to play there, or are you pretty comfortable, everybody's on board with?
No, the conversation's really starting from like even before we signed Xander. Conversations with knowing Tatis coming back this year. We just got some players that they really want to win, and I think they understand that the way to win is having a lot of really talented players on the field together. And I think they're more excited. Honestly, that's the tone you get, is like an excitement about what we can do as a team and as an organization this year and how they can contribute. And I think guys are really looking forward to it. Honestly.
Do you get irritated or frustrated at all when you hear teams, not so much GMs, more owners, question that sustainability of the franchise?
I mean, I think everyone's, again, like that's it's all part of baseball and sport, having different opinions and different thoughts on ultimately, like, hey, different questions, and sometimes too when things are a little bit different, or you're doing things, maybe not in the same way as other organizations, people may question, but no, I think from our side that's a challenge for every organization. Is like you can look up and try to put together a team that's competitive for a 3 or 4 year run, and how you can turn it into a long extended run of year-to-year success. And I think again, if you have if you have really good coaches, really good scouts, really good people, and most importantly, really good players, you should be competitive year in, year out.
Do you anticipate talking with Manny throughout the season about the possibility of keeping him here longer term?
Yeah, I think, again, like Manny's always a priority for me and for the organization, for sure. He's a phenomenal player. He's a huge part of what we do here, and we're just gonna respect him in this process, and a good relationship with his representatives and agents. I think again, we'll always be open and clear in our communication, and if he has interest in talking more, we'll continue to do that. And he's also under contract here, so I think from our standpoint, we'll be respectful of what's going on. He's indicated, hey, I want to just go play baseball. I want to get, he thinks we have a chance to win a World Series. He wants to focus on that. We'll respect that, but our priority is for Manny to be here a long time.
Peter just said that it was keeping Manny was his biggest priority. Is it your biggest priority?
Yeah, I think Manny's, like I said, Manny's, we obviously 4 years ago, I think right around this time, it was, big, obviously a huge day for the city of San Diego and for the organization. Manny's lived up to everything when we signed him that we could have hoped for at that point in time. He's a phenomenal player, and I think we at that time, I think it was the largest contract in North American sports history, and we've got a ton of faith and respect for him. So I think from my standpoint, Manny, we've got a lot of great players in that room. Manny's at the top of the list, and want to make sure he's here for a long time.
Did you ever think it'd become an issue in the sense that Harper doesn't have an opt-out, Arenado did not opt out of his contract? Did you ever think this was going to become an issue one day?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, like we've done all different kinds of deals. We've done short-term deals, we've done opt-ins, opt-outs. I think long-term deals without opt-outs. I think from the negotiation there, we felt like it was something that was important to him and and to Danny as representatives, and ultimately, when he's got the right to potentially opt out at the end of this year. So yeah, we're prepared for it. We've always been looking at it as a possibility, and I think the good part for everybody, he's played at such a high level that it makes it a realistic question. So yeah, we were prepared for that situation for sure.
That would likely take a long-term commitment. Something with Soto, if he were to stay here, would also take a long-term commitment. How do you balance I know you look at each case individually and you say that a lot, but how do you balance the resources aren't necessarily unlimited when you have two guys of that stature, of that superstar caliber?
Yeah, no, I think it's again, it's something we talk about all the time, is a short and long-term plan, and it's not unlimited resources, it's not an unlimited budget, so you've got to make decisions and choices. And I think the nice part for us is you're talking about two of the best in the game, and how we keep both, hopefully, or how one affects the other. But again, it's a situation like Peter, myself, Eric, we talk about it all the time, and those are conversations that'll be part of the next 12 months and the next couple of years we'll want.
That way it's important also to get Bogarts here as far as some protection.
Yeah, I think with Xander, again, as we've talked about, I think it was for him to play with Manny and Tatis and Soto and Grisham and Kim. So again, I think Xander's he's a tremendous player. I think it really the signing of Xander's about we got to the postseason last year. felt like the lineup, you got, if you're going to win a World Series, you just got to be, obviously like solid 1 to 9, but as many guys that can hit like in the 2-3 hole and really super competitive professional at bats, and then also have the ability to play the middle of the infield. That's really what the Xander signing was about, and with the goal that him and Manny play for a long time together, and same with the other guys we have here on the team.
When you look at like Fan Fest from when you first started to where it was this last time around, or Petco Park on a Wednesday, just how much pride do you take in the product you guys have built in really a short period of time?
Yeah, I think that's when you could, again, like I think like the last few years, even starting with the 20 season, no fans in the stands, but after the Cardinal playoff series, and see what downtown was like, and like the excitement that the fans had at a time, like in our country and the city of San Diego, is like a real difficult time, and for the Padres to kind of be a part of that, you started getting that sense of, hey, like again, like people are excited by this team, and I think the organization should be proud of what's being built. Definitely not a finished product right now, but when you look at all the excitement coming out of the pandemic in 21. I think the first night with the Reds in that series, and what that second half was like, and then all of last year. It's like the city of San Diego. It's a definite baseball town. They love this team. They love the players. I think it's really a testament to the players, because they're exciting and they bring the fans out, and they're really hungry to win. So yeah, I think that's been the goal since we got here. Is to have this type of environment, this type of situation. That's what you want, and I think in all sports. And we're not quite there, but we're when you see something like Fan Fest in February, to see the fans that exciting, that's that excited about everything, that's the type of atmosphere you want to be a part of for sure.
What's your expectation for Fernando this season?
Yeah, I think the health is the most important thing right now. Obviously, like making sure that coming back from the wrist revision, and definitely from the shoulder, that he's pacing himself at the right points. He's done a great job from a rehab standpoint. I think it's almost like for us, like kind of like making sure like he's checking every box and kind of holding him back. He's obviously very hungry to get back on the field and excited, and he's put the work in. So that's a huge part. Again, like the baseball side of it, he hasn't played now for over a year in real competitive games. Obviously, the rehab stint for a minute last year. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Like, I think we're going to kind of go into it open-minded to see like how like just him getting back in the flow of playing every single day and using spring training to do that. But you see it here, even just in the practice sessions. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous baseball player, and he's really motivated. And he understands that. Yeah, he's got. He's excited, I think, to win back the trust of the fans and his teammates and everything like that. So I think excited about his outlook for this year.
Seeing more of a mature version of Fernando this time around.
Yeah, I said it before. I mean, like a lot's been put on Fernando's plate. And he's handled a lot of things really well. I think like from the time getting to the big leagues at 20 years old or so, and he's handled a lot of things well last year. Again, like he's I think he's learned from what from like you'll talk about the mistakes he made last year and a couple different situations there. And I think he's handled himself really well so far here in camp.
What makes Peter a good boss?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things about like working with Peter and learning from Peter and the group. I think like the biggest thing again with like from Peter's standpoint, he has trust and faith, in our team, our baseball group. I think he's humble, so he understands the game of baseball really well. He comes from a baseball background. He asks a lot of questions, which I think any good leader does. But ultimately, there's a ton of faith and belief in our scouts, our coaches, our front office, and I think when you have somebody that's the head of your organization, and that's kind of the process that he takes, where there's a belief, and it's not blind faith. He's challenges you, but I think that creates the culture throughout the organization that we all follow, and it's been obviously it's a really good place to work, and he's a great boss.
Has he surprised even you with how much he's been willing to spend? Like at the start of this offseason, did you expect you guys to be where you are now?
I mean, I think we just have a lot of conversations, so I think it's back and forth. It's not like we sit down and like say, hey, we need to get to this number or that number or anything like that. It's a conversation that we have where we explain like, hey, this is positive, negatives. These are different directions we could take. This is what we see in this player or that player, or how it affects the whole team, and then ultimately we make a decision. And some years I think the number will be higher, some years lower, but we're going to do what we think we need to do to win, and what we think is best in the best interest of the Padres.
In your role, obviously, is to be creative and to push and to push. Have you been surprised with some of the ideas, personnel-wise, you had, free agent, whatever, that you keep getting a yes from the upstairs and you haven't hit a no?
No, I mean there's plenty of no's. You know, I think like I think that's the one thing. Like sometimes you see the Padre name. Sometimes in the media, like they some of the rumors are true, some of the rumors aren't true about like who we're interested in. I think it's kind of become the thing where everyone assumes we're interested, which is probably a good position to be in at different times. But yeah, no, there's plenty of situations that are either that we decide, hey, we just don't want to go down that path. There's times where it's like, no, this isn't quite the right time to push here or there for different players. So yeah, obviously we've lined up on some trades and some free agent signings here, in the last few years. But no, there's plenty of times where again there's a plan and a process to what we're doing, and there's plenty of times where you go back and forth, and you move on to a different player, a different situation if it doesn't quite line up for us.
Can you go an entire offseason without making a trade?
I think we have. No, I mean I don't know about a trade. My guess is all 30 teams are making trades in the offseason, is my guess. So yeah, no, but we've had trade deadlines and we've had different off seasons where it's been more free agent heavy, or Rule 5 heavy, or or free agent heavy. So yeah, I think again we like our roster, and I think ultimately we were able to hopefully supplement it this off season and by making some moves. But every year is a little bit different, honestly.